Happy Friday the 14th. Can you believe it? It's another Friday. We are halfway through the first month, and hope you've made Ben. I can say that easily. Hope it's been a awesome first 2 weeks, and you're ready to crank out the last 2 weeks. It's Friday, so we still got a few hours to get some good stuff done. Anyways, today we're gonna have a guy that I've known for probably a good year, anyways. Now maybe longer. Uh, he's a pretty amazing character. Character being the operative word, and he honored me to be on his show back, I don't know, several months ago, and I enjoyed that very much, and wanted to make sure we had Brian on because his story is absolutely 100% not my industry related, but at the same token, it's 100% is because it's a story of life. It's a story of things that happen and how they can happen within a blink of an eye, if you will, and perseverance, overcome, positive attitude, and that crosses all spectrums, all genders. Not genders, probably genre. Anyway, hey, Kirsten, thanks for being on early. You're number one, as always. And so, anyways, my friend, coming up in just about 7 seconds, is Brian with One Eye Wagner. There you go. We'll be right back. Don't go away. There he is. How you doing, my friend?
I'm wonderful, Randy. How are you?
Good. And we are going to talk about genre, not genders today. Just
hey, we can do that too. It's okay.
Well, it's okay. Hey, they both start with a G. I'm
no
a little
judgment.
simple-minded.
There's no judgment.
There's no judgment, and I'm simple-minded. If it's a G word, I'm there.
Cool.
Hey, well, welcome and thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're sitting in the western suburbs of beautiful. I say that beautiful tongue-in-cheek as a University of Michigan Wolverine fan, but I'll say it anyways because you're my guest, Columbus, Ohio.
That's right. Go Bucks.
Yeah, you had to go there. Wes, Wes, I know is listening. He gets 7 minutes less time now for that one. Every time you miss Bucks, we're going off 7 minutes. I can't do that. Anyways, but seriously, thanks for being on. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And as I mentioned, your story, then we're going to get to shortly, but it's something that fits us all the time. Hey, Barry, thanks for getting on here, big fella. So before we start, though, give us a little who's Brian Wagner? Maybe not your story because we're going to go there in a minute, but just married, you got kids.
Oh yeah, dogs. Married. Been married 32 years, I think. Yeah, 32.
You're supposed to remember that, buddy. Supposed to remember that.
Yeah, I know. It was 9190. Oh, it'll actually it's 31 years. It's 32 in September. September 1st.
Congrats.
So thank you. My beautiful wife Connie, we met when we were in 4-H camp together. So there's a story there. But yeah, so having 3 kids. They're 26, 24, and 22 years old. One is an architect, another is a teacher, and the third is finishing up his last year of college. So
nice.
Yeah, he's in aerospace and engineering. So
so he's a rocket scientist, is what you said.
Right, exactly. Smart kid.
Love it.
All 3 of my kids are smarter than I am.
Well, hey, then you did well. Did well. So you said this, so you're gonna have to go back now. So the 4-H camp, I got to hear the story now that you brought it up. You can't let that one go.
Well, we originally, the first time we met was in probably 1986 or 7. And we met at a polka fest, and well, they also call them beer fest. But anyways, we met there. We started to have a couple of conversations, and then we both were involved with 4-H, and she ended up having to be a camp counselor. So we've got to know each other a little bit better then. And after the camp was over, she was involved in a car accident, and she wasn't hurt, but no one else was as well. But I was very, very concerned about that, and I showed my desire to like her, and I was my concern for her, anyways. And from there, we just kind of hit it off, and ever since we've it's just been the 2 of us.
So what you're trying to nicely say is Brian had some moves.
don't know about that. I didn't pay anybody.
Well, I mean, you convinced her, and you've been together 33 years now, so I guess you had a couple moves, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
hey, it's good. So, we I introduced you as Brian with one eye, Wagner.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
your
that's
story,
okay.
yeah, I knew that. I asked you already because I was in trouble with the Dixie chick for saying I was going to call you that. Anyway, so you you've been an author, or you are an author. We're going to talk about your book in a while. Coach, business coach, keynote speaker, founder of Radical Vision. We're going to talk about a lot of those things as we go forward. But give me the the story starts right, and it's a great. It's not a great that it happened, but the outcome has been good, and it's an inspiring story. How did we become Brian with one eye? The floor is yours. I think I'm going to sit back and listen for a while.
Well, the first known issues with my brain, this is where it all starts, is with my brain, was back in 1977. And I had, and I think that was the year that Elvis died, because I heard a lot of Elvis on the radio when I was in the AM/FM radio was in the hospital room at the time. So that's when I was diagnosed with hydrocephalus, and which is a bit of a fluid on the brain. And so the doctor put a shunt into my brain. It drains fluid from my brain. Excess cranial fluid. They really don't know what caused it, but they fixed the symptom, which is hydrocephalus. After that, I had a few issues back in 90 and 92. In 92, we actually moved to Chicago in 90, and then we lived there until 95. But while we were in Chicago, they found that I had what's called a cavernous malformation. A cavernous malformation is like they also call it a cav mal for short, but it's a malformed blood vessel, and they can form anywhere in your body. Mine just happened to have formed in my brainstem. So it formed in my brainstem, which wasn't bad in 92. We didn't know if anything was going to happen with it. So, but they said, where it is, just don't ever let someone operate on your brainstem, because that's a really, really dangerous spot. So that was fine. And, fast forward quite a few years. So things pretty much went okay. But then in March of 2011, I woke up and I couldn't see. So a lot of people dream of or have nightmares about the worst thing that could ever happen to them, of losing their eyesight or going blind. Well, that happened to me. And that was March 4th, like I said, of 2011. The hardest day that I've ever gone through. My eyes were swollen. Both of my eyelids wouldn't open. And then my eyeballs don't go together. So they still don't go together. So there's one image here, and then there's another image here. So I see double no matter what. So I can lift this eye, and there is an eyeball in there, and I see out of that eyeball, but I see an image. So right now, looking at this computer, it's not like a regular person looking at a computer. I don't see what you see. Right. I see a lot of images, or at least two images. I don't know, maybe more. But that's how I look. That's how I see. So for a long time after I had surgery in 2011, well, for 6 months I was blind, but after that I got the chance to have my license back, and I was able to drive again, which was a big deal. I really enjoyed that. But then about 10 years after that, something happened, and I had another brain bleed, and caused me to have more of issues. So I had numbness in my tongue. I had lost the sense of feeling in my hands, all down my right side of my body. It's numb. It's sitting here right now. It's numb. So that's been the way it's been for almost 11 years. So that's part of my life. You know how maddening that is when you have numbness and your leg falls asleep. It just drives you crazy.
Right.
Well, that's me every day.
Wow.
So I'm crazy every day.
Well, that's what Wes said, but I wasn't going to bring that up.
Yeah, right. I know. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how it all started. The real issue was, and by the way, it also caused me to have a little bit of a speech impediment. So the stutter in my voice sometimes happens when I get stuck on my words. So earlier today, I was on a call where I called everybody by the wrong name. I called people. There were certain people on the call, but I would call them by someone else that was on the call their name. It didn't make any sense, but it just happens sometimes. So things like that happen. We all stutter over our words, but I have a doctor's note for mine.
I don't mean to laugh, but I need one of those maybe because I have no excuse. Oh wow! And so circle back. So that morning that you woke up blind,
Yeah.
there was no warning necessarily before that. Life was just going on. You're working, family, kids, and then just woke up in the morning with the worst nightmare, like you said, that you could imagine.
Well, that the day before, I had been on a business trip into to Cleveland. It was about 2 hours north of here, and when I came back, I started to come back. I started to notice, some problems with my
Mm-hmm.
eyesight. I started to see double a little bit, but not bad enough where I couldn't make it home. I made it home, and I just stayed on the couch that night because I knew something was wrong. So
Wow.
anyway,
So still a major shock in the morning, though,
yeah,
obviously. Hmm.
yep, yep,
So the I've talked about this in we've talked about this in some of the promo leading up to the show and so forth that your story to me is very inspiring and it comes from the standpoint that uh, there's a lot we can learn because you're like living life doing this doing what you do and this had to change every aspect of the world of Brian Wagner, right? And you
yeah,
had to relearn a lot of things. You had to, but the beauty and I guess the inspiring part is a lot of people have bad things. It happens. It's
hmm,
part of life, right? But you were saying you're talking to a guy that lives through some pretty tough stuff, and I really am interested in your mindset, the concept, how did you look at this, and how did you go? Okay, well, this pretty well sucks, but
hmm,
what am I going to do about this?
yeah. So there's a lot. There's really a lot that goes into it. And I don't think I'm any better than anybody else. I think I've been through more than most people have, but that going through that stuff is what's allowed me to be stronger than maybe some other people. But I, I really don't look at life that way. I look at life as I'm just trying to be. I'm trying to be a dad. I mean, I have 3 kids. I'm trying to be a good husband. And I fall down on all that stuff every day, anyways. But I still try to do those things. I want to be somebody that provides for my family. So for a long time, I still kept my job in IT sales. So I was a salesman and told every day. So I know how important that role is, and I know how misguided some people's opinion of that role is. I had one guy tell me, he asked me, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm in sales. He's like, oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Come on, man. No, it's not that bad. It's a good job, and it's yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, we don't really sell. We don't. When I was doing that job the right way, I wasn't ever selling,
Correct.
but it just happened. So, I'm not sure what you asked. What you asked that question. I went on a tangent.
Well, that's okay. Tangents are good. I believe me. I live in a tangent world. No, I was just saying, so but that's interesting. So you were in sales. Now, and
Hmm.
I know you've been a keynote speaker. We'll get to your book in a while, but uh, you're still speaking. I know you've got a podcast of your own
Yeah.
that you do weekly, as I mentioned. I think in the intro that you honored me with having an opportunity to chat with you on your show one day. So tell us a little bit about the speaking world because you're involved with the Ohio Speakers Toastmasters, I believe, if I'm correct, now or in the
National
past.
Speakers Association,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
NSA, the other
NSA.
NSA.
Aren't they in Washington? One of those big.
No, we're the ones that talk. They're the ones that listen.
Oh, okay. So, so how long have you done that?
I've been at NSA for 5 years. I've been speaking for 5 years. Yeah, I also am a part of Toastmasters. Love Toastmasters. I'm actually what's considered a DTM, which is stands for Distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest level you can get in Toastmasters, or highest award I think you can get. So it's great to be a part of.
Hmm.
But really, I mean, this all started about 2 years after I had surgery. A good friend of mine named Bill, he's amazing. He encouraged me to go see this guy who was an author, and he lived here in town. His name was Kerry Oberbrunner, and he had written a couple of books. And I gravitated toward him. I actually started reading then, because it's very hard for me to read now. A lot
Hmm.
harder than it was when I had two good eyes. But I read more now than I ever have. So with that book, that first book that I got from Carrie, I got to start to think about what else I could do, because I knew that if I could get over being blind, I wanted to be able to help other people. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know. I didn't know how I could do that. I didn't know how I was going to provide for my family. I didn't know how I was going to, you know, be a husband. I didn't know, any of those things. But I knew that was what I wanted to do, and I felt as though that was my calling.
Hmm.
I feel as though, and I still would feel that way. I feel as though I was put on the earth in order to help other people that are struggling. You know, uh, you know, I didn't know exactly what that meant, but
Right.
I've been trying to do it ever since.
Yeah. Well, and I think, well, obviously somebody that's had the kind of struggles you have are the only ones ultimately qualified to speak towards really struggling, right? If those of us that have been lucky enough, blessed enough, whatever you want to call it, to have not have any those kind of life altering events, we can talk about it and say this is what you ought to do or this is how you ought to think, but we don't really know, right? We don't know, and so
Even somebody like me, I can't tell you what you ought to do. I can't tell you what you ought to think. All I can tell you is my experience. All I can tell you is what I learned.
right, right. Well, so you do a lot with the you're the founder of Radical Vision, uh, and I know that's yeah. There's the website right there,
Yeah.
and that involves, or I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there you are on stage. You do a lot of speaking, uh, publicly, publicly as well as via podcasts and those kind of things. Uh, so your goal there is maybe towards people that have vision issues, right? But not maybe solely. Is that a correct statement?
No, actually, I talk with people with vision issues. Actually, I work at the Ohio School for the Blind, believe it or
Hmm.
not, and that's been the best job I've ever had. We can talk forever about that, but I actually talk with groups. A lot of what I talk with is healthcare organizations, healthcare associations. I've had a lot of conversations over the last 2 years with groups that support those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So a lot of conversations there. I've really that's probably been the biggest one that has been receptive to my talk.
Hmm. So if you were gonna, if I'm gonna get a free speech out of here, a short one. If you were gonna talk to myself and my group of compadres about having a vision, about overcoming obstacles, about whatever it is you talk about, and when you give your speeches, give me the 5 minute nickel tour on that. What can I learn from you today?
Well, the real point of the speech is to take people from a point of blindness to sight to vision. That's the whole process that we help people go through. When you're blind, you don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're not seeing, but there's something
Write
that
that
you
down.
should be seeing, but you're not. So more than likely, you have blind spots that are causing you to not see what you should be. And then when you have sight, you begin to see through those blind spots. But you can't see through your blind spots on your own. You have to have someone else there that helps you to see through your blind spots, because there are many times where you have to have a coach or a friend or a spouse that can help you. For me, I struggle with having my spouse see my blind spots, because I can't always listen to her, just because, I mean, that's not our relationship. Our relationship is love and affection and late nights and date nights and all that stuff.
Yep,
And
yep.
it's not about blind spots. So yeah, once we have that right person that can help us with our blind spot, then we'll be able to see through that blind spot. And then once you can see through that blind spot, you can get to a point where you are able to see your preferred future, your preferred state, and that's really where you have your vision. Your vision can also become synonymous with your purpose in life. So for me, my purpose in life is to help other people and help other people that are struggling. That's what I do. That's what I want to do, and hopefully that's what I'm continuing to do. So that's that.
No, that's interesting. In blindness, sight to vision, and what I find kind of fascinating and interesting about that is as soon as you said those words, I think you come from two spots, right? You come from your medical part, but
Mhm.
it's also, I guess, synonymous, if there's a word I want to use, with everyday life, right? We're all, like you said, we all have blind spots. You have them both in vision per se, health wise, if you will, medical, whatever you want to call it. But
Mhm.
but we all have blind spots. We don't see things. We get locked into things we can't get unlocked. And uh,
Right.
and I think it's interesting that you talk. I'm looking blind spot, sight to vision. So uh, that's a trip we can take regardless of whether it's a health issue or an emotional issue, a business issue, a sales issue, uh, trying to deal with kids that are teenagers or something, issues, whatever the case, right?
Right. Exactly. Financial issues, you name it. I mean, it really serves uh, all of the struggles. So
Right, right. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, actually. So so you wrote a book.
yeah.
Did you ever think you was going to write a book?
Heck no,
That wasn't your dream in school?
no. I'm a simple boy from farm in Northwest Ohio. I grew up the youngest of 10 kids. I was barely able to read a book, let alone write a book. Um, so yeah, and never thought in a million years I'd write a book.
Yeah. And now you have them. There it is.
And
Sometimes it does take a brain surgeon. That's
right.
uh, tell me about the book.
The book was really originally written for my kids, because when I had surgery, my kids were 11, 13, and 15, and I wrote it for them so they would know who their dad was. Because I mean, someday I'm not going to be here.
Hmm.
I didn't know how long that was going to be, so I wanted to make sure I had something written for them to be able to know who their dad was. Maybe if someday they have their own kids, and they can tell about who their grandpa was. And I mean, that to me is it's pretty cool. As many books as I've sold across the country, no three books will be as valuable as the three that I gave to my kids.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm sure they massively appreciated that.
I think so.
Yeah.
That was I remember the day that we had the book launch. Out here in our backyard. We all had T-shirts on that had the whole logo from the book on them. it was just a lot of fun, a lot of just a lot of encouragement. I mean, it was one of the best days of my life, publishing that book and having the party here with friends and family. It was just amazing. So I'll never forget it.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So Barry, my friend Barry's on. He says impactful stuff. So obviously, he's appreciative. And our mutual friend Tim Lord. He's
Tim, man,
I don't know who he's talking about because he said hi, gentlemen. It must be Wes because it's sure not
yeah,
you or I.
he's not talking to us.
Hey Tim, thanks for getting on, buddy. So when did you publish the book? Well, let's go before that. Did you just wake up again one morning and go, okay, I want to write this for my kids. I'm just going to go ahead and start this process, or was this just a shining moment where you just woke up one day and said, you know what, yeah, I'm going to do this, or is this something you planned for a while? How did that play out?
No, nothing I do is usually planned. Yeah, I'm not that smart.
Perfect.
But that first conversation I had with Carrie, the author, he said I can help you because I told him I wanted to get my story out, but I still didn't know what it meant. So this was probably 2 years after I had surgery, and knew I wanted to get my story out, and it was probably another 3 years after that where I finally made the decision to write the book, and then you know it was a situation where, again, I mean, I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew was I wanted to be able to get something down on paper to share with somebody else. So yeah, there was no big epiphany, big that I was like an author or something. I just knew that I wanted to be able to do that, and I did it.
You sure did. And it's a beautiful looking cover, and
Thank you.
well, exactly. And I'm sure it's done probably a lot of good for a lot of people. I'm sure.
Yeah, and I've got another one in the makings.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but do we have anything we want to talk about, or is it too early on that one?
Oh no, I mean, I haven't started to write yet, but the title of this book is "If You Could See What I See."
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
again, it's gonna help people to go from blindness to sight to vision. I'm sorry, blindness to sight to vision, but it's a little bit different because it's gonna talk a little bit more about um, the business that I'm in, the business that I was in, and talk about how we need to know how to lead, love, and learn from those that are different from us. So that's my main message these days, to help people to know how to lead, learn from people that are different from them. So, if we can do that, I really think we're going to make the world a better place. And that's what I want to do. I mean, I, I started off with helping people that are going to struggle or are in struggles, and I still want to help, but I also want to be able to make the world a better place because, I mean, there's so much stuff going on in the world today that is, it's awful. Whether it's, vaccination versus non-vaccination, Democrats versus political, Michigan versus Ohio State.
Go blue. Go blue.
Yeah, right. You name it. I mean, there's all issues there, and people get so hyped up and so pissed off and so disgruntled and so angry and so mean over these things that they don't need to. And I really want to be able to help people to just know how to, and working at the School for the Blind with people with disabilities. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many people there with, well, at the School for the Blind, there's 60% of the kids there have issues beyond just visual impairment. So
Okay.
think about that. I mean, there's 130 kids that go to the school. Understanding what they go through every day, it's amazing, and I want to be able to help them. So they have issues like Down syndrome or autism or albinism, or which is, some people might call them albinos. They're not albinos. There are people with albinism. So hear that. People with albinism. So that's the person first. That's what we always talk about with persons with disabilities. We don't talk about somebody that's what an albino. We talk about a person with albinism.
That's
So
right.
all those sorts of things you talk about so many ways in which people are different from others. We can go on and on forever. That actually why I have a retreat coming up in a couple weeks where we're going to talk about this sort of stuff.
That's that's awesome stuff. So you obviously you're finding a besides your speaking and coaching and authoring, you're finding, is that a full-time job at the School for the Blind, or you
Yeah,
go?
I work about 35, 40 hours a
Okay,
week there. Yeah,
okay,
so
that's
it's pretty
awesome.
much full time.
That's awesome. Very
Yeah,
good.
it's
Very
awesome.
good.
I
So
love it.
my friend Kirsten on there Brian did a great big all caps, 3 exclamation marks, go blue, just so you know.
Huh.
I just had to throw that out there.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, there it is again. It's up again.
Huh.
It just keeps coming up. I think it's on repeat. But I got to do this. Did you happen to remember the outcome of that game this year?
Oh, who won the
Okay, okay.
before that? The last
Fair enough.
11.
Fair enough. We're done.
Yeah,
Fair
yeah,
enough. Yes. Well, the hope, and again, you hope you guys win every game. I hope we win every game. But the reality is, for the game, the best outcome in history is not to go back to the Cooper years for you, or not to go back to some of our years, is to go back to in a perfect scenario, we're 5-5 after 10 years, and every year the final game, one of the teams is going to the playoffs, right?
yep,
That's the perfect scenario. It's 1 versus 3 or 2 versus 5 or
yeah,
whatever. In whatever order that is, we want it our way. But if we could get that every year, we both win, right? And
right,
but
exactly.
actually, I want to retract though. I think it should be 6-4 Michigan. Anyways, I'm just was trying to be fair for a minute, but
Yeah,
you're a big boy. Um,
right.
well, good. Well, I appreciate we got about 32 minutes in, and I know I want to get Wes out of here because he's got some things he needs to do, as you know, this evening.
Yeah.
Um, give us your final words. Give us your parting words on what people need to take from
Oh,
the world of Brian.
the world of Brian.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Well, that might be it right there. Nobody, just whatever you do, don't listen to me. Yeah. Well, I often tell people just do exactly the opposite of what I do, and you'll probably be in good shape.
Right,
But
right,
no, just
exactly.
whatever you feel like. I would just love to hear maybe some parting words. Your story it's been every bit as what I'd hoped it would be, and I knew it would be with knowing you for a year or so now. What could what would you like people to take away from? I guess more than anything else from the conversation today.
Uh, for me, I'm a man of faith, and I think a lot of that draws from a lot of this draws from that. And if there's anything that I would leave with people with, that they need to have faith, they need to have something that they can rely on to keep them grounded. That has been the biggest thing for me. I mean, um, we can talk forever about how great this is, or how much I've done, or whatever, but that's not really the point. I mean, I didn't do any of this by myself. Not only did I have a team of people around me, a group of encouragers, but I also had my faith in God. That's provided me, with life. So there's a reason why I'm still here.
Yep.
I know He knows what that reason is, and I'm going to continue to try to do what I feel like I should be doing in His name.
Love it. Good stuff. Brilliant. My friend, I appreciate you being on. This has been good stuff. And I know Wes is making notes. He always makes little sticky notes. We're going to be, yeah, that's a doodle. Wes, stop it. Hey, Brian, what are you probably, he just, He just put a Go Blue up. He did it. Even though his
He did what?
daughter is now, even though his daughter's going to go to Ohio State, Wes just put a Go Blue up. Don't be shaking your head at me. I can see you back there. Wes back in the war room. Go Bucks. Oh, there it is. I hate that. Anyway, but Brian, thank you. I appreciate you being on, my friend.
Absolutely.
And I know that everybody that was watching live today, or the 98% that'll watch on replay at some point or another, I'm sure we'll love it. Kirsten just said a wonderful show. Thank you, Randy and Brian. Yeah, it was all Brian, but thank you, Kirsten.
Yep.
Barry, thank you.
Yep.
Tim, anybody else I missed? I'll catch up with that later.
Awesome.
That's it, my friend. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Anytime, my friend.
All
right, buddy. There it is. I hope you all got some inspiration out of that. I've heard the story. I picked up a couple new things, as I always do when I listen to Brian. I listen to his podcasts on a regular basis. He's he downplays that he's not that amazing a guy, but he is. I mean, the things he's overcome is lessons we can learn in everything we do in life. So again, thank you, Brian, for being on. Wes, great job again today. And let me think. A week from today, well, let me back up. You all know I'm going to be in Nashville next week, even though there's a big storm climbing through the middle part of the country, but I'm hopeful I'll get in there on time or before. But I'll be in Nashville for the NFBA Expo next week, and I'm going to be doing a bunch of from the show stuff, just little vignettes. I think Wes told me I could use that word. It sounds good to me. Giving you a feel for the show for anybody that's not there. So look for those next week. And then Friday, we're going to do a back to the industry, if you will. We're going to have a great trio next week. Some people that have become friends of mine via social from the industry. A great company out in the West Coast. There they are, right there. We're going to have Mike, Stacy, and Ray. They're with Western States Metal Roofing. These guys. If you're in the industry and you don't follow them, you need to, because they have some of the most amazing jobs that they supply throughout all over the West, anyways, the mountain states in the West. They may go further, but numerous panel designs. They do a lot with the Core 10, and anybody in the industry will know what that product is. I've got to know. I've got to know Stacy very well via social media, and I'm looking forward to talking to Mike and Ray on Friday next week at 3:00. So don't miss that one. And remember, love what you do what you love, go live it, love it, own it, and you know what I'm going to say next. Say it with me: 3, 2, 1. Make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. That's it, folks. Thank you much. Cheers. Love you all.